My girlfriend Chloe came from a powerful Astor family in New York worth billions. But despite her wealth, she wouldn't spend a dime on me. We even had to go Dutch when buying condoms at a convenience store. Later, when my mom fell gravely ill, I borrowed money from everyone I knew. But I was still $2,000 short for her surgery. No matter how desperately I begged Chloe, she refused to lend me the money. After I handled my mother's funeral arrangements on my own, I went home to pack my things. That's when I stumbled upon a list of gifts she'd bought for her neighbor's younger brother, Zach. A mansion in the Hamptons, luxury watches, haute couture gowns. There was also a chat log with her best friend. Chloe had written, "I heard Ethan actually got on his knees to beg you for $2,000. Is that true?" Chloe scoffed, her voice casual and dismissive. Zach was right. He's been begging everyone for $2,000. If that's not a gold digger, I don't know what is. We've only been together for 7 years, and he's already this desperate to leech money off me. The 7-year test of our relationship was nothing more than a result of Zach stirring up trouble. But it didn't matter anymore. From the moment my mother passed, I had made up my mind to leave her. Just as I put the gift list back where I found it, the front door opened. Chloe walked in, reeking slightly of alcohol. She sauntered over and sat down beside me. "You disappeared for a few days. I thought you had some backbone that you wouldn't come back. But here you are crawling back. You just can't leave me, can you?" she accused, practically blaming me for returning to swindle money from her. In her eyes, I'd always been just a gold digger. I didn't even look up. I scooted over, avoiding the arm she tried to drape over my shoulder. She froze for a second, looking at her hand and then at me, probably thinking I was just sulking about the $2,000. She broke the silence. "I've had a bit to drink and I'm thirsty. Go make me some soup to sober me up." She always did that, unconsciously putting on her princess airs. But 7 years ago when she first pursued me, she'd used her clumsy acting skills to portray herself as poor, completely fooling me. "Ethan, I don't have anything and I can't offer you a stable future, but we can work hard together and build a good life together." Back then, looking at her sincere face, I nodded. I was short on money, but I believed I could make a living through my own efforts. I chose Chloe because I was moved by her words about working hard together for a better life. But the longer we were together, the more I felt she was different from ordinary people. She would unconsciously show disdain for inexpensive things. She would also order me to do tasks she could easily handle herself. It wasn't until I was at one of my part-time jobs and saw her step out of a luxury car, treated like royalty as she entered an exclusive club, that I fully realized our relationship was built on lies. She was constantly afraid that I was after her money. Chloe spoke again, interrupting my thoughts. "If you want money in the future, just ask me directly, using your own mother's illness as an excuse. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for that?" Her words were utterly laughable. I lifted my eyes and looked at her coldly. "If I asked you directly, would you give it to me?" I asked. She faltered, a hesitant look on her face. But the next second, as if confirming something, her eyes filled with scorn. "Zach was right. You're only with me for my money." As she spoke, she sent me a transfer of $188 with the memo "Gold Digger." In the entire 7 years we were together, I hadn't spent a single cent of her money. I even bought her gifts for holidays and anniversaries. She accepted them without a second thought. Yet, because she never got me anything, she would sarcastically say that it was only natural for a man to buy gifts to appease his girlfriend. This was the me she kept calling a gold digger. This was the New York socialite worth billions. Remembering the gift list for Zach, remembering my mother tormented by illness and dying in pain because we couldn't afford treatment. I couldn't stand to look at her for another second. Just as I stood up to leave, I heard a sound at the door. Zach walked in, shrugging off his jacket and revealing a sexy see-through shirt underneath. But the moment he saw me, he feigned shock and quickly put his jacket back on. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" he asked. I turned to Chloe. "If I remember correctly, this is the apartment we rent together. Not only do you casually give out the passcode, but you also let people barge in whenever they please," I said. Hearing this, Zach put on a look of utter victimhood, skewed over to Chloe's side, and grabbed her arm. "Chloe, how can I be considered people? I just forgot my house keys and wanted to crash here for a night. Besides, if Chloe hadn't agreed to share the rent, Ethan, you'd be paying for it all yourself. So, in a way, you're the one benefiting." I had no idea how many times he'd instigated things like this behind my back. Chloe, after hearing him, didn't think she'd done anything wrong. In fact, she seemed to think Zach had a point. "Zach's right," she said. "I have my own place, so splitting rent here really puts me at a disadvantage. It's like paying someone to sleep with me." She pulled out her phone, displayed her payment QR code, and held it in front of me. "You don't want people calling you a gold digger, do you? Then pay me back for my share of the rent for the past 7 years." This small 40-some square meter apartment was what Chloe and I rented when we first got together. After college, to earn more money, I stayed in New York to work. With my abilities back then, I could only afford a cramped little room far from the city center. It was Chloe who said the place was too far and inconvenient for her to visit. It was also Chloe who said that tiny room wasn't fit for human habitation, that even being intimate with me there would ruin her mood. She wanted us to rent a bigger place together. So, under the pressure of high rent, I took on another part-time job with the time I saved on commuting. Now, not only did she want me to pay back her half of the rent for the past 7 years, but she even implied that she felt like she'd paid to sleep with me. "Chloe, what have you taken me for these past 7 years?" The humiliation and anger on my face were for myself. 7 years of my youth wasted on someone like this. The hand extended towards me trembled the moment she saw my downcast expression. She pursed her lips and retracted her hand. "I was just kidding." At worst, she hadn't finished her sentence when Zach clicked his tongue twice, a disdainful look on his face. "Still say you're not after Chloe's money? If it weren't for Chloe, could you afford such a nice place? Chloe, you should just cancel the lease next month. You can't keep letting an outsider take advantage of your generosity or make Ethan sign IOU. That would be fair. If assault weren't illegal, I really wanted to slap both of them. But if I did, they would surely find ways to extort money from me. Tasteless rich people and their favorite malicious games. 7 years. I had played along with them long enough. I was done. I'm not signing any IOU. If you want money, feel free to sue me. See if the court will rule against me. I'm not living here anymore either. Since Mr. Zach wants to stay the night, remember to pay Chloe rent. Otherwise, you'll become a gold digger, too." I was about to leave when Chloe grabbed me. The playful look she had moments ago was completely gone, replaced by reproachful anger. "Ethan, are you serious? Zach and I were just joking with you. I suggest you think this through. If you leave here, you'll never be able to afford such a good place again." I was truly wrong. So, incredibly wrong. I shouldn't have let her sweet-talk me out of breaking up when I first found out she was a New York socialite. Even more so, I shouldn't have, time and time again, when she accused me of wanting her money, believed her talk about an equal relationship that shouldn't be dominated by money. I only remembered how she'd use her stomach to warm my hands in the coldest part of winter. When I had a headache, she gently massaged my temples with her warm hands. We had indeed loved each other, and it had been sweet, but our love absolutely could not be tainted by money. "Chloe, let's break up." Only when the words break up left my mouth did her playful smile fade. At the same time, a hint of panic appeared on her face. "Break up, Ethan. You're actually breaking up with me. I don't agree. What right do you have to dump me? There's a limit to your tantrums." She always put herself on a pedestal, as if being in a relationship with me was a gift she bestowed. I just looked at her calmly. "I'm not having a tantrum. Since you constantly think I'm a gold digger after your money, perhaps you should find someone from your own social standing and have a fair relationship." Not wanting to say another word to her, I turned and went back to the bedroom to continue packing. About half a minute later, I heard her roar. "Ethan, don't you regret this?" I ignored her threat and cared even less when she slammed the door, leaving with Zach. A love where I was treated like a thief. I had endured it for 7 years. I didn't blame Chloe for my mother's death, she indeed had no obligation to lend me money. But when I needed help the most, even when I knelt before her with an IOU, begging her to save my mother, she turned a blind eye, still thinking I was a gold digger. My love for her and for our 7 years together completely died. In the dead of night, carrying all my luggage, I walked the deserted streets. The vastness of New York held no place for me. Likewise, I had lost my reason for staying. My mother was gone, and our love had run its course. Every second I remained would only add to the sorrow. With nowhere to go, I spent the night in the lobby of a nearby hospital. The first thing I did when I got to work was resign. My boss looked surprised when he received my resignation letter. Resign? Did Miss Astor approve your resignation? By the way, if you resign now, your bonus for this month will be minimal. We'll just deposit your remaining salary into one account. I frowned. There was too much information and I couldn't process it all at once. What did he mean deposit it into one account? And since when did I have a bonus? Most importantly, what was this about Miss Astor? Seeing my bewildered expression, my boss looked equally puzzled. Aren't you and Ms. Astor dating? Ms. Astor specifically instructed finance to split your salary. Your base salary is paid to you while your bonuses and raises are deposited into another account. She said you were saving money. I never expected someone like you with a girlfriend like Ms. Astor to be so frugal. It's truly rare. So, for all these years, I'd only been receiving my starting salary. My repeated requests for a raise weren't because I wasn't working hard enough, but because Chloe had diverted the extra pay to another account. When I went to finance to get my pay stubs, I saw a $2,000 bonus clearly listed in the earnings column. A few days ago, trying to scrape together that final $2,000, I had delayed paying the hospital by a day. That delay meant my mother didn't get her surgery and passed away. Even more laughably, the total sum of bonuses Chloe had skimmed from me over these 7 years was more than enough to cover my mother's medical expenses. I was so incredibly foolish. Foolish enough to just work diligently, terrified of being laid off and losing my livelihood, and foolish enough to be completely deceived by Chloe, utterly unaware to avoid making her think I was a gold digger. Not only did I never spend her money, but she also siphoned off my hard-earned income. In this relationship filled with lies and humiliation, I had somehow persevered for 7 years. Just as I was holding my pay-ups, preparing to confront Chloe, she brazenly appeared before me. Ethan, we just had a little argument and you run away from home and try to resign. Your temper seems to be getting worse and worse. Following her, Zach wore a gloating expression. He walked over, feigning concern, and said, Ethan, you're so ungrateful. You're spending Chloe's money living in the apartment she rents for you. Without Chloe, could you even survive in New York? Shameless people truly can lie without batting an eye. I laughed out of sheer anger, about to retort, but Chloe cut me off. Zach's right. If it weren't for me, these past 7 years, you would have starved to death by now. Let's just say you're acting out today. I'll grant you a day off. Come home with me. I won't even deduct this day of absence from your salary. The more I saw Chloe's true colors, the more I felt it. These long 7 years, just how blind had I been? People around us started pointing and whispering about. When they saw Chloe didn't stop them, their voices grew louder. Ms. Astor hid her identity just so Ethan wouldn't feel inferior. She even made us keep it a secret. That shows how much Ms. Astor cares for him. He eats her food, lives in her place, and still throws tantrums at Ms. Astor, trying to marry rich without having what it takes, without Ms. Astor. What is he? The more people around us gossiped, the more smug Chloe looked. Zach kept chiming in, pinning all sorts of baseless accusations on me. Ethan, didn't you lie about your mother dying just to get $2,000 from Chloe? Wanting to leech money while trying to maintain a good image. You're such a hypocrite. His words were like cold water on hot oil. The atmosphere around us instantly exploded. Everyone looked at me with contempt and insults flew relentlessly. I looked at Chloe. She still wore an expression of utter indifference. She even seemed to feel a sense of grievance, as if Zach had voiced her innermost thoughts. I twisted my lips into an absurd smile. Just as I was about to speak, Chloe casually grabbed my arm, feigning generosity and acting as a peacemaker. Never mind. Never mind. What's past is past. It's not like I'm short of that little bit of money. If you want money in the future, just ask me openly. There's no need to make up so many excuses. When Chloe spoke, the entire office seethed with indignation. Everyone thought I was ungrateful and didn't know my place. Exactly. Miss Astor is so wealthy. If he wants money, he should just ask directly. To curse his own mother for money. That's just inhuman. I can't believe Ethan is this kind of person. I used to think he was frugal. I even brought him food sometimes. Someone like him, Ms. Astor, should just dump him and make it so he can't survive in New York. I looked at the colleagues I used to be on good terms with now also joining in to trample on me. Then I thought about Chloe's actions. Suddenly, it all felt meaningless. Since I was leaving anyway, even if I slapped the payups down in front of her right now, she and Zach would just come up with more bizarre statements to have everyone continue humiliating me. I silently put the payups into my pocket. I looked up and smiled at Chloe. We've been together for 7 years. You can go ahead and calculate exactly how much of your money I've spent. If you can't name a single cent that was spent on me, then please return the hundreds of thousands. You owe me. Otherwise, both you and your company can wait to be sued by me. All that talk about a love untainted by money, yet it was constantly steeped in it. She, this New York socialite, who appeared to spend money like water in everyone else's eyes, had been spending the life-saving money I had saved for my mother. Chloe racked her brain, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Of course, she couldn't think of a single instance where she had spent money on me. This was a woman who would insist on splitting the bill for condoms. I had once thought it wasn't that rich people were stingy, but that I simply wasn't worth her spending a single cent. Perhaps she wanted to argue further, but I no longer wanted to listen. As I turned to leave, Zach suddenly pushed me. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. Ethan, how could Chloe possibly owe you money? Are you really spreading rumors? Aren't you afraid we'll call the police and have you arrested if you go to jail? Who's going to take care of your mother in the hospital waiting for you to earn money for her? Zach was still trying to threaten me. But at that moment, I had nothing left to lose. Just then, my boss, who happened to be passing by, saw Chloe and squeezed into the crowd. She was holding an application form. Miss Astor, Ethan's mother passed away a few days ago. You still haven't approved the employee bereavement payment. Also, Ethan's request for a $2,000 salary advance. I withdrew it as you instructed, my boss said calmly but firmly. It's such a pity. I heard Ethan's mother was only $2,000 short of her surgery fees. I was stunned. All this time, Chloe had not only withheld my bonuses and raises, but also feigned ignorance when it came to signing the necessary forms for the bereavement payment. It was only $2,000. Why couldn't she give it to me? Why make things so difficult when my mother was fighting for her life? Remembering everything I had done for Chloe over the years made me feel like a fool. If I'd worked at any other company, I wouldn't have been so exhausted, and maybe I could have saved up enough money. Maybe my mother would still be alive if it weren't for Chloe's greed. The colleagues who had just accused me of using my mother's death to get money went silent when they heard my boss speak. They lowered their heads, avoiding eye contact. They hadn't expected the tables to turn so quickly, but no one, not even the truth, could challenge Chloe. People always bully the weak, even when the strong are wrong. It was laughable. All those people I had helped, the ones I had cared for, not a single one spoke up for me, even though they knew the truth. The silence around me was suffocating. After a moment, I spoke calmly. Master, have you figured it out yet? Exactly how much money did I leech off you? In contrast to my calmness, Chloe looked flustered. She couldn't think of a single instance where she had spent money on me. Not even a drop of water, not a grain of salt. Suddenly, Chloe gripped her supervisor's hand tightly, her voice cracking. Ethan's mother. She really passed away. Her supervisor nodded, not understanding the situation. Yes, Miss Astor. Didn't you know? Chloe's face blanched. She couldn't believe that the kind woman who had always called her dear Chloe was now gone. Her eyes blurred and she nearly stumbled as if the weight of the truth was too much to bear. For a moment, anyone watching might have thought it was her own mother who had passed. I let out a bitter laugh. Can't remember. Or maybe there's nothing to remember at all. I could have mocked her further, but what was the point? The truth was clear, and I no longer cared to argue with someone like her. What mattered now was collecting my mother's ashes and leaving this city behind. Chloe had always known I was self-reliant. Over the years, I had never spent a single penny of her money. If someone with as much pride as I had been willing to kneel before her for money, it meant I was facing overwhelming difficulties. Chloe knew that. But each time I wavered, Zach was always there to pull her back. Her eyes, once unfocused, suddenly cleared. She realized too late how badly she had been misled by Zach. She had spent all these years thinking I was a gold digger, but it wasn't me. It was him feeding her lies and twisting her view of me. If it weren't for Zach, Chloe wouldn't have developed such a twisted perspective on love. The moment she realized this, it was too late. Chloe's face hardened as she walked toward the elevator, shoving Zach aside when he tried to stop her. Move! She snapped. Zach looked confused, but stepped aside reluctantly. "Chloe, I can't let you," he started. But she interrupted him, her voice cold. "If you get in my way again, I'll never see you again in my life." She finally reached the elevator, but the doors closed just as she yelled, "Ethan, don't go." I ignored her and walked out of the company. As I stepped into the car, I could smell the exhaust fumes. Chloe stood in the doorway, looking defeated. She had failed to get to me. For the next 3 days, Chloe searched for me, but I wasn't idle either. I remembered a senior classmate from college who had opened her own law firm. I found her in my contacts and sent a tentative message, no red exclamation mark. Thankfully, she hadn't deleted me. We quickly reconnected, and I told her everything, hoping she could help me recover the money that was rightfully mine. I didn't want Chloe's money. I wasn't a gold digger, but I wouldn't let her withhold what was owed to me. After 3 days, Chloe looked haggard when she received news of me, a court summons. She held the document in her hands, taking a long time to process it. A self-deprecating smile touched her lips as she realized the magnitude of what had just happened. Winning the case wasn't difficult, and soon the money was deposited into my account. It felt surreal. My mother was gone and this money couldn't bring her back. But I couldn't let Chloe keep what wasn't hers. Standing at the courthouse entrance, the wind blowing through my hair, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. I returned to my hometown in Pennsylvania to the small courtyard house where my mother and I had lived, relying on each other. The familiar scent of home filled the air, and tears welled up in my eyes again. I clutched my mother's ashes tightly and sank to the ground, overcome with the weight of everything that had happened. I wept uncontrollably, holding my mother's ashes in my hands. "I'm sorry, Mom. I couldn't give you a better life. I'm sorry I couldn't get the surgery money in time. I'm sorry you didn't get to see me get married." There were so many things I had failed to do for her. I had tried so hard, and yet it all seemed so pointless now. After crying until I was exhausted, I spotted a small stool in the yard. It had a smiley face that my mom had drawn on it. It was old and covered in moss, but I could still recognize her mark. I picked it up and walked to the nearby creek. With a brush, I scrubbed away the dirt. Slowly, the smiley face became clearer, and it reminded me so much of her. I gently touched the drawing and whispered, "Mom, I'll live a good life." As the words left my lips, my tears fell onto the stool, and I felt like I couldn't live without her. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, and returned to the yard. Keeping busy always helped me forget my troubles, so I started cleaning. As I worked, I felt a little more energetic. The past few days, I had been wandering around looking for work, but had found nothing. The village had quite a few ponds, and I had an idea. What if I built a fish farm? Half of it could be for raising fish, and the other half could be a high-end fishing spot to attract premium clients. It could even help boost the local economy. I checked my bank balance and began to sketch out a blueprint for the fish farm in my mind. But I was a novice in this field and faced many setbacks. Every day, I found myself sitting on the doorstep, lost in thought. That's when Mrs. Lynn, my neighbor, walked over with an apple. Seeing that I hadn't noticed her, she waved her hand in front of my face. "Ethan, what's wrong? You've been so absent-minded lately. Tell me about it. I'll help you." I didn't expect Mrs. Lynn to be of much help, but I just wanted to ease her worry. "I want to invest in a fish farm, but there are some things I don't understand." To my surprise, Mrs. Lynn clapped her hands in approval. "A fish farm? That's a great idea. My niece Olivia specializes in this. She's coming over for dinner later. I'll introduce you to her. You can ask her for help." I couldn't believe my luck. I quickly agreed to meet Olivia and went to Mrs. Lynn's house to help with the cooking. When Olivia arrived, her feet were caked in mud, likely from inspecting a fish farm. She looked at me for a moment, then stepped outside to check the house number before returning inside. The awkwardness was broken when Mrs. Lynn greeted Olivia. "Olivia, you're here. This is Ethan. He's thinking about investing in a fish farm. Aren't you an expert in this field? I asked the young man to come and consult you." I stopped what I was doing, stood up, and walked over to her. "Hello, Miss Lynn. I'm Ethan." Olivia wiped her hands on her clothes and shook mine warmly. "Hello." She was very approachable, and her slightly clumsy movements made her even more endearing. After dinner, Olivia suggested we take a look at the ponds I was planning to develop. I was moved by her willingness to help. She could have easily come up with an excuse not to, but instead she offered her expertise. I quickly changed my clothes and we headed to the site. Olivia examined the ponds for a while. Your ponds are about 30 acres. For fish farming, the water depth should be around 8 feet. You'd need about 130 to 140 pounds of quicklime per acre to clear the pond. The current depth isn't sufficient. I took out a notebook, jotting down her advice. Are there specific requirements for the fish species? I asked. Olivia thought for a moment before replying. For a farm this size, you could stock about 2,000 carp, 2,500 bream, and 20 silver carp per designated section. But it's better to start with species that are easier to raise. Don't worry about workers. I can introduce you to some experienced people when the time comes. As for the high-end fishing spot you're planning, you'll need to divide the ponds into zones. Beginners and experts can't fish in the same area. Beginners will get frustrated if they don't catch anything, while experts will feel too restricted. You'll also need a social-type fishing pond where the focus isn't just on catching fish. Olivia spoke with me for the entire afternoon. At first, I had thought she was just a rich entrepreneur who'd gotten wealthy from fish farming. But after getting to know her better, I discovered she actually had a PhD in agricultural science and had published several papers on aquaculture. With her help, my fish farm and fishing spot started to take shape. We set up different types of ponds. The beginner's pond was half price, and if a customer didn't catch anything, I'd give them a fish. The second pond had no fishing fee, but any fish caught were paid for by weight. This worked out well for customers. Later ponds included restaurants, and the deluxe versions even had water entertainment facilities. My funds were tight, but with Olivia's help, I managed to keep things going. The fish farm quickly became profitable, and my net worth grew. Over the next few months, Olivia and I became much closer. I stopped calling her Miss Lynn, and she started calling me Ethan. One day, while I was working on some financial reports, I heard Olivia's voice from a distance. She walked up to me. Doing reports? She asked. Almost done. Wait for me a bit. Although she was waiting for me, Olivia didn't stay idle. She helped clean the yard and washed my dirty dishes. At first, I felt embarrassed and told her not to do it, but no amount of persuasion worked, so I just let her. Your bowl is still here like it was yesterday, she said. Did you skip breakfast? I paused, feeling guilty. Don't even think about making excuses to fool me, Ethan. I smiled helplessly and admitted that because of the fish farm, I often got so busy that I forgot to eat. Olivia was concerned and looked exasperated. Health is wealth, she said. The usual meal she made for me was tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. I smiled as I ate, feeling grateful. Chloe had always been high and mighty, never caring enough to do something simple like cooking for me. Even if I was sick and asked her to bring me a cup of hot water, it would be twisted into a gold-digging accusation. But Olivia, she wasn't rich like Chloe, but she was smart and hard-working. After I finished the reports, Olivia placed the meal before me. When I was halfway through, she smiled, full? I paused, then chuckled. Olivia, are you a mind reader? You know me so well. She laughed. I can't help it. Your thoughts are written all over your face. It's hard not to know. Her words were so simple, yet they made me realize something. Chloe had always thought I was a gold digger, but if I really was, why had she never once considered my feelings? I smiled to myself. Then Olivia took out a gift box. See if you like it, she said. I wasn't shy. I opened the box. It was a watch. Last month, I was invited to a jewelry show and the organizers suddenly gave it to me. I thought it would suit you. I looked at her in surprise. I like it. Olivia was surprised by my answer. She had given me many things, but this felt different. I had always accepted her gifts politely, but this time was different. I said, I really like this. It wasn't out of politeness. I genuinely liked it. Olivia seemed surprised, almost like she didn't expect me to feel that way. I could see it in her eyes. She was trying to cover her feelings. It was cute. She had said her thoughts were simple, easy to guess. But that watch was no ordinary gift. It must have cost a lot. And I could tell it wasn't just a casual party favor. How could I not understand that? It was an expensive watch, the kind I used to dream about owning when I was younger. Chloe, on the other hand, had never given me anything like this. I couldn't recall her ever gifting me something that felt meaningful. Maybe half a birthday cake each year, which we both shared, but she ate most of it. Looking back, I realized how naive I had been, thinking Chloe truly loved me. All those small gestures I appreciated were just easy things anyone could do. But I got so caught up in it that I thought I couldn't live without her. Olivia, however, had shown me a whole new level of kindness. Olivia was staring at me, and I felt a little shy under her gaze. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I asked, slightly embarrassed. She quickly snapped out of it and looked away, trying to hide her flustered expression. "Ah, I'm sorry, Ethan. I was thinking of taking you to see the new fish farm tomorrow. Want to come? It's an invitation from the great president, Lynn." I couldn't help but laugh at her teasing tone. "Of course, I'll go." "Okay, but dress up a bit," she continued. "There's a banquet at the new farm in the evening, and the scenery is beautiful. I'll take pictures for you." She quickly added, "Not that your usual clothes aren't nice. You always look great. I saw in your social media that you like taking photos, so I thought I'd help. Wear whatever you like." I smiled, amused by how nervous she seemed. "Don't worry about me. I'll wear what I like," I said. "You don't need to overthink it." The next morning, standing in front of my closet full of clothes Olivia had gifted me, I scratched my head, unable to decide. Which one would she like me to wear? I finally chose a light blue shirt, one I thought would go perfectly with the watch she had given me. It felt like the right choice. Olivia had planned to pick me up, but I wanted to surprise her by going alone. I wanted to show her through my actions how much I appreciated all her gifts, but just as I was about to enter the venue, I saw Chloe. I immediately wanted to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. I instinctively pulled away, looking at her tiredly. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Chloe, hurt by my reaction, said, "Ethan, I've been looking for you for so long. I finally found you. Can you forgive me? Give me another chance." It was all my fault before listening to Zach. I cut her off, holding up my hand. "Stop. I don't want to hear your explanations. The past is over. Don't come looking for me again." Chloe wasn't ready to give up. She pulled out a gift box, one that clearly contained a luxury item, something elite men would appreciate. I had dreamed of owning something like that when I was younger. But now, here was a woman offering it to me so easily. Chloe held the box and said, "Ethan, let's get married. I'll spend my life making it up to you. Give me one more chance." Before I could respond, Olivia appeared and stepped in front of me, claiming her territory. "Miss Astor, trying to steal my man on my turf. Isn't that a little inappropriate?" My lips curled into a smile. Chloe, looking startled, dropped the gift box. She was clearly upset. "What do you mean, your man?" she spat. Olivia stood firm and declared, "Ethan is my boyfriend." I quickly clarified, mostly for Chloe's benefit. No, she isn't my girlfriend. We broke up a long time ago." Olivia smiled and eyed Chloe. "I remember you at the auction," she said. "You were bidding on a watch. With your wealth, I thought I didn't have a chance, but you dropped out when the bid hit $2 million. Did you decide to buy this one instead for Ethan?" I froze. $2 million? Had she really spent that much on me? I immediately wanted to take the watch off. "Are you crazy buying something so expensive for me?" Olivia gently patted my hand. "Because you're worth it." At that moment, Chloe noticed the watch on my wrist, the same one she had been bidding on. She had hesitated, thinking I wasn't worth it. Seeing that I now had it, she faltered. She had lost. Tears filled Chloe's eyes. "Ethan, that money, I didn't intentionally withhold it. It's just that a long time ago, you said you wanted to save up for our wedding. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to, so I wanted to help. I never meant to take it for myself. I love you. I can give you anything you want." Olivia stood her ground, her voice filled with disdain. "Miss Astor, I know a bit about what happened between you two, but if you truly loved him, you wouldn't have kept questioning if he was a gold digger. You wouldn't have hesitated to buy him what he truly deserved, like the watch. You didn't value him the way he deserves to be valued. When I give him gifts, I never ask for anything in return. As long as he's happy, that's enough for me. I want to see him smile when he receives something from me." I held Olivia's hand tightly, feeling the weight of the situation. "Chloe, I don't love you anymore," I said. "You've cost me so much. My mother, my friends, my career. I've done enough. If you feel any guilt, don't come looking for me again. Your shadow is something I never want in my life again." Chloe tried to grab me, but I walked away, pulling Olivia with me. She looked back at Chloe, whose tears streamed freely. The pain and suffocation that overwhelmed her were evident. But I didn't look back. As Olivia and I walked away hand in hand, she led me toward a field of camellias. "Do you like it?" she asked, stopping to face me. I was caught off guard. "How did you know I liked camellias?" Olivia smiled softly. "You always use laundry detergent with that scent, and there are a few planted in your yard. When you're in a bad mood, you tend to take care of them. You always smile when you're with them." I stood there stunned. She knew me so well. "I really like you, Ethan," Olivia said. "Can you give me a chance?" And that was when it finally hit me. I had found someone who truly understood me.